What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. So, mail delivery today. We had this little gem show up. This is the new fast folding titanium lightweight stove from Danchel Outdoors. So I just thought I'd do a quick unboxing, set up maybe a burn-in video for you guys. It came all the way from China to the US and then shipped to me. So with packaging, that shipping label is 6 pounds. So that's not bad. So, give you a look what's inside here. I already had a quick root through it, make sure everything was there. We've got our little product brochure here, some instructions on the back. These things are all pretty similar. If you look at the Winnerwell or Pomoly, they're all very close to being the same. They think they all roll off the same assembly line. But this little step here where it shows you how to roll the chimney, yeah, please don't do that. I will go through the box here. We've got gloves in, let's see. I'm gonna call those child size, but they might stretch, we'll see. 2 little thumb ring clamps. I'm gonna bet one is for holding the chimney into the stove body and one is for holding the spark arrestor on the top, maybe? I don't know. Help if I read the instructions, I guess. Here's our roll-up chimney. I think I'll set you on the tripod to have a look at this because it's gonna get really bouncy if I don't. There, that's a little about it. So, one little complaint I had was in the Amazon ad, it doesn't show this top cap actually coming with the stove. And this is pretty important because this is gonna anchor your stove if it starts getting windy. You need these little, I'll fish those out in a bit. Those little rings in there, you tether them off. That way your chimney pipe doesn't blow around in the wind. So, but it does come with it, yay. There's the ring to secure the chimney to the top of the stove. And this actually has a sliding dampener in it, not the butterfly style. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rings for the chimney pipe. Nice little strap to hold it all together. And then our spark arrestor / dampener hiding inside. So that little guy just goes right in there. If you do it backwards, you got a sliding dampener with a spark arrestor screen in it. So I wish it was the butterfly style, but what can you do? So here's our actual stove. Wait. Huh. We get a fire pokey. Yay. It's actually not too bad. I just never use them. Like, I use a stick. So, the bag has a little compartment on the top for the chimney pipe to fit into. You flip the bag over. Zipper on the bottom. And there's your stove. It's actually quite well packaged. This is bubble wrap in a plastic bag, so. There's the top of the stove. It's actually 2 pieces. And they hold it together with these little screws and nuts. So I don't really like that. Not the small screws and nuts. It's just that, yeah, eventually they'll work themselves loose and then you're going to lose some of them. But whatever. So little piece of packaging in there that protects the glass on the front. And then you just have a fast folding titanium stove. front and back up. Now, when I first seen this, I thought that there was some damage, but it's not. They're actually built like that. So we just push that over. Same thing with the other end. Push it a little bit. It's got these nice turn latches on them. Just like that. Like that. So it's actually really secure. It doesn't rattle around too much. Legs just fold down on the bottom. Got to be careful. This stuff is really thin and very sharp, so it will hurt you. That's probably why they give you gloves for it. Put the back side up. There, stove body's done. Lid goes on. Just make sure that everything is lining up before you tighten those up so you don't bend anything. Just like that. There. It's hard to watch what you're doing and film at the same time. Let's see this side. There we go. So that's all 4 latches closed. Oh, that's actually really nice. It's far less flimsy than I thought it was going to be. It's actually quite stable, which is nice. And it's easy to put it together with the latches on it. So this is actually the model that has just the front glass in it. I believe they do have another one that has side glass, but you know, if you break this, it's not the end of the world. But if you break a stove, if you break the glass out of a stove that has a big glass panel in the side, your stove is pretty much non-functional. So, close up of the latch. Pretty simple, just a bar latch. The door itself actually fits really tight to the face. Sliding dampener. And an inside shot. So we're gonna roll up the stovepipe now. See if we can get this bad boy together. There. This is the collar for the dampener. Just remove the dampener, it makes this a little bit easier. So we'll line up all of our slots. There we go. Everything's in. Give it a quarter turn, like an 1/8 of a turn. There you go. Now our little dampener just goes through the slot. Just like that. What are you doing? Hey? Oh, photobombed by a cat. Okay, so we'll work on our chimney next. And we're probably gonna need some gloves for that. I don't like handling that thin titanium or any thin sheet metal. without some gloves on. So this stuff is razor thin, so be very, very careful with it, or you get sliced to the bone. We've been there, we've done that. What do you say, buddy? What do you say? Okay. Okay, let's have a look at this and see if we can get it together without putting any big kinks in it now. There's wonderful gloves that came with it. So this is what makes me skeptical. Yeah, but maybe they'll stretch. Starting to feel like O.J. Simpson in court. So surprisingly enough, they mostly go on, which is better than nothing. Let's see. They do stretch to fit a bit, so. But probably I'll keep these with the stove, but I'm not going to use them unless it's an emergency. Of course, these gloves are extremely slippery on this stuff. Just take your time. So we'll slide all 7 rings on it. Now we're going to start rolling it more lengthwise than widthwise. See how this is getting longer? And the rings back here are holding everything together. Now that we've got that far, hold it down a little bit. If you wiggle it, you can actually tuck more of the inside into the pipe and make the diameter smaller. That way your rings will go over it easier. Slide some rings up to hold it. There you have it. No crinkles, beautiful roll job. You can still adjust it a little bit. Now we're ready for a burn-in. This is almost 7 feet long, so that's quite tall for any tent that I'm going to use. The stove itself with the legs on it, 4, 8, 12, roughly 12 inches tall. So that would put this overall with the stove underneath of it about 8 feet tall. And that's really tall. Most of the small tents you're going to use this in are probably only 6 feet tall at the very most, probably 5. So we have a little bit left over on the end that we can trim off. We'll just use a pair of scissors. We'll shorten this down a little bit. And I've actually got a use for that piece. All right, just so everybody is on the same page and they know I'm not cheating. So there are no crinkles or damage in the stovepipe after rolling it up the way I just rolled it. Like it's absolutely as perfect as it's going to get. So you see that this seam here, it doesn't want to lay curved with the rest of the pipe. It tries to poke up because it's still flat. Basically, you're just going to burn this pipe in and then take it down, and the next time you re-roll it to use it, you take the edge that is on the outside, you put it on the inside. It will actually follow the radius of the tube a little bit better, and it'll start to actually form that nice round pipe. So yeah, but actually looks pretty good. I should clarify, this is a Danchel stove, not a Pomoly stove. But Pomoly has really good instructions on YouTube on how to roll these chimney pipes up. But you just watch mine, so do you really need to watch Pomoly's? Probably not. Okay, let's do some modifications here. All right. So I used my scissors and my Sharpie. I chopped about 6 inches off the end of that chimney pipe there. And I built a baffle for inside of the stove. And people might be curious why I did that, but so in a small teepee tent, when your stove jack is kind of central to the tent, you get a lot more room if you can actually push the stove closer to the wall. You just have to make sure that you have enough room so that you don't burn your tent or melt your tent when you do it. That shouldn't be a problem. So just by turning that around, you gain all that distance that the stove can be pushed closer to the wall with. Now, the baffle's nothing fancy. I just crimped it over the edges of the stove. It's only about a 1/2 inch lip, but the stove body is almost, well, it's 8 inches wide, so 8 by 1/2 is a lot of area compared to the diameter of the chimney. So it shouldn't have any trouble. You can see how I bent that very crudely, just with my fingers, just pushing on it. This is kind of an experiment, but some other guys have done it. I picked the idea up off of a guy with a Winnerwell stove and a Pomoly stove, actually. So, yeah, well, we are going to get this outside. Azrael, you ready for a fire? I think he's ready for supper. All right, we'll go outside and throw this all together and make sure it works. Oh, and the chimney pipe is still just a shade over 6 feet long. So that's more than enough. That makes it 7 feet tall with the stove. So, all right, we'll see you outdoors. That's all set up on my deck. It's a great day to do a video because it's snowing. So any of you are waiting for me to get back out on my little Tinger Dog track sled and do some camping, well, it's coming up pretty quick. So yeah, wait for that to take hold. And what? Can I help you? What do you want? Huh? Oh, he wants dinner too. Yeah. Anyways, we'll heat that up a little bit. One thing I should really remind people is that after you've assembled one of these titanium stoves, give it a wipe down with some alcohol or some brake clean or just something to get the oil from your hands from touching it off of that metal. Otherwise, it's going to be there forever. So, we're losing our light. All right, well, we'll check back in a little bit. Well, we're about 10 or so minutes in, and hard to tell, but it's actually starting to pick up that beautiful blue and purple color that you're used to seeing with these things. It drafts really, really, really well. That dampener, if you just go to touch it, you open it up, she roars like a rocket stove. But yeah, it gets hot. You can close it down, and it actually tapers down quite a bit. The air control isn't supreme in this thing, but it's actually pretty decent. And there's your warpage, which is going to happen unless you actually get in there when you build the stove body and you form a lip there to stiffen the front so it can't distort. So, but no smoke leaking from anywhere. And yeah, I'm really happy with that little stove. It's nice. So we'll probably end things there. I'm going to take the chimney off and put that end down into the stove body so we get an equal heat on that. And the thing is still tall. Like I'm 6 foot and she goes on a ways, so we're probably 7 or better to the top of it right now. But that's okay. That's what the guy points on the capper for. So, all right. Well, next time everybody sees this, it'll probably be in my new hot tent, or maybe I'll take the Lavoo out and blow the dust off of that old girl. We'll see what I feel like. All right, folks. Well, thanks for watching.